Okay, so I'm here with a really heavy topic, and it's pretty big actually, because there's always that question that everyone has. This is myself included, this is everyone before me, even now, right? So the thought that goes through your head is what if? What if you are not successful in the application process? What would I do? And what should I do? What's the solution? I'm just gonna keep it very straightforward. Honestly, if it ever came down to that, I would just apply to a different agency, which would probably be HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, the U.S. Marshals. They even have FBI and ICE, which also deals with immigration and things like that, which is almost similar to Border Patrol, but they're not the same thing. They're completely different. However, those federal agencies, they do great work and they're very well respected. And I've always gravitated towards federal agencies myself. And then there's also the local, which is your local sheriff's department, police department, your highway patrol, your traffic team and whatnot. So there's so many different options. Like the list goes on and on and on and on. And that's what's good about it, is like if it were to go south in your application process, there's different agencies that you can consider and apply. And I'll be honest too, like even when I was struggling with passing my entry exams and getting through my medical steps, like there was a point in time when I actually applied to I applied to my local sheriff's department in CHP, and I was just, expanding my options, right? I mean, I still had my foot in the door with Border Patrol because there were some steps I had passed and completed, so they were still valid, but I just had to wait for that time to kind of pass where I can take the test again, and then I can do the medical stuff again. And then, I still had my foot in the door with sheriffs and CHP because I was doing my exam and I was just starting to advance a little bit. So at the end of the day, the point is you give yourself an outlet. So if one goes south, you have another foot in the door and you can kind of just focus on that, because a lot of people, they get stuck on, I want to do this, I want to do that, in which you should. Like if you're that ambitious about it, don't give up on it. Don't give up on it. I mean, and that's how I felt too, even with the Border Patrol. Like I still applied to different, agencies and whatnot, but I was still very persistent on Border Patrol. And I was gonna stick with it because I told myself that this is what I want to do. I'm not gonna give up. However, I have to be realistic as well. If it was gonna go south and it wasn't gonna work out, that's what I would consider, right? You apply to a different agency, and then you still get law enforcement experience, and then you kind of build that experience up with that agency, and then you come back, and then you can always apply again for Border Patrol and try it out. And in fact, you might actually advance your application even more because you have law enforcement experience, which is what Border Patrol really considers. Because I've been told, even by recruiters, like they think very highly, and they like the fact that if someone was prior military or law enforcement, that you have a really good opportunity as well, because you have that experience being inactive and just being in very stressful scenarios. So it's valid, and it's very it goes along the task and the challenges with Border Patrol. So and then the only other option too is to just keep going, to just try again. It doesn't hurt to try, to keep trying, and that's what I did. I mean, I still went and applied to different agencies, but I still want to keep my foot in the door. I still want to keep trying because I still believe that I can get this done, and that if I don't give up and if I just have a positive mentality, that it will just unfold for me and it'll work out regardless. And I feel like at the end of the day, there's going to be a solution, and I will be led somewhere to where I will have a career in law enforcement regardless of the circumstances. But for Border Patrol, it's definitely something that I've been pursuing for a very long time, which is why I haven't let go of it. So even if it got to a point now where I was just, I got pushed back or set back, I would still come back, because if I've been in this application for well over 2 years, and I'm now getting closer, because in my last video I talked about my waiting time and my waiting for things to process and getting through my background investigation. So I've come this far, and I didn't come this far to come this far. So you should remind yourself of that too, right? If you've gotten far in your application process, you got to remind yourself that I didn't come this far to just come this far. But at the end of the day, if in an unlikely event, if it was to go south, there's always different avenues that you can go, right? And then you can always get experience. You can always just talk to people. And that's what's good about it. There's so many people to talk to, and recruiters and whatnot. And there's a lot of resources that you can adhere to. So that's just what it comes down to, and that's just my personal take. If I was truly in that boat to where I knew I was gonna fail and I wasn't gonna succeed in this, then those would be some of the two options that I would consider. But at the end of the day, here in this channel and everywhere else, we don't quit. And I would encourage you guys to do the same thing. Don't quit, and just keep going. I remember at my structured interview, I had an agent that I asked, like, what are some of the things you look for in an upcoming Border Patrol agent? And he was telling me that one of the things we look for is resiliency and persistency, and someone who's committed. Like, it takes a long time, and he even admitted himself, it took him almost 3 years to get into the academy. And even for some of the people it's like shorter, but some it's longer. But for the people that it's longer, it can be discouraging. But at the end of the day, he was saying, like, if you can hang through this far and you can actually make it to the academy, then you shouldn't have a hard time with anything else. Because the hardest part is just getting through the application process, getting through everything. I'm not saying that it's going to be less difficult when you actually get to the academy, you actually get to the, to start working at your sector. No. I mean, there's going to be a handful of challenges. That's where the journey really begins. But it starts with the application, and if you hang through it long enough, you'll be successful and you'll get through it. But at the end of the day, it's just, you just have this persistent attitude, this resiliency that no matter what, I'm not going to take no for an answer. But you should always be realistic. So that's just my take on it. And as always, any questions, any sort of comments or experiences that you guys had that you want to share, I welcome it all below. Please, you can comment below, or you can reach out to me on my Instagram at evantilth_. And I'm going to put the IG handle in the link in the description. I also, just to make one thing clear, there's a lot of resources that I include in all these videos. So I made videos on every step, and then a couple of hiring process videos themselves, kind of breaking everything into one piece. But I put a lot of links in the description, so you can check those out.